It's true. It's true.
You know, I have thought about this a few times over the last few years when this has come up, but you could
Come on,
make
little
blazing
penis.
saddle. You could make blazing saddles today.
That's one of
I
those
just don't
tropes that
think
gets
I
thrown around a lot. And it's on the one hand, like I kind of agree with it and get it, but like on the other hand, there's some there's some shit out there that pushes beyond that boundary. Like
I
it's
I
weird.
think I think in a world where South Park exists, blazing saddles could be made in this world, but Mel Brooks couldn't be like you'd have to have a person of color at like the EP director, head writer kind of position for the
Yes,
language. You know what I mean? Like, if nothing else, because it's hard to get past the use of language being, I mean, adequate for I think the angle that they're going for, but it being a bit loose with the racial slurs for how a lot of people's sensibilities are today. But I think you get
exactly. But
past
like
that with the right people involved, you know?
exactly, and you get past it by addressing it head on and not like tap dancing around this thing or being scared of it. You address it by fucking addressing it by, and you can do that comedically. It just has to be done with a deft hand. But
I
you
don't
can
even think you have to
address.
change anything about the movie at all.
No, not at all. If it
About
came out right now, it would be a fucking blazing hit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, because it's
Well, and
so
also like it's so well done by every single fucking person. Like
yeah.
it's a tour de force, if you will.
Listen, if Tarantino can get away with it
Ooh.
when it's oftentimes, in my opinion, maybe a bit. Listen, maybe a bit gratuitous. It's maybe a bit frivolous. Let's say sometimes,
Perhaps, yeah.
you know,
Every once in a while, it's okay. Also, when you factor in like how kind of reputation he has in real life and some of the stories that have been told about his
yeah,
direction in movies,
yeah,
it's a little icky.
yeah. Yeah, he's not. Listen, he's not fucking Roman Polanski or anything, but
Well, this is true.
but maybe not exactly a person that should be
What about an upstanding guy
uncritically
like Woody
idolized.
Allen?
Man, like it's obscene and grotesque on its face, and it's one of those things where like, okay, all right, let's say somehow true love from like a spiritual perspective exists, and somehow some way Woody Allen experienced true love in his specific circumstances. You got to take that L and not pursue it. I'm sorry, man, that's the only
Yep,
ethical thing you can do. That's the
100%.
only ethical way, even if it's
100%.
divined by God that this should be. Your only active ethical
If
behavior is to not follow through.
100%.
Yeah, Woody Allen's interesting. With all these people, actually, I'll say this: like Marilyn Manson, I have an appreciation for some Marilyn Manson music. I find that he's a horrific
I
human
grew up
being.
on his music, and like
Yeah,
I feel like he didn't used to be a horrific human being, but the worst angels of his nature combined with his addictions pushed him into being this like awful fucking shell of the person that he used to be.
from what I understand of the various allegations against him, it starts pretty early.
That's entirely possible. I mean, like there
And
could have been a mask that was being worn publicly, but at the very least, like he was an intelligent and articulate person and spoke with some pretty strong ideals at times that
I mean, you
like
you can
for
be
instance
you can be
his
wrong. You
history
can be
review
wrong and
and
right. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Hitler had some good ideas. Like
I like. we don't throw out good ideas just because
I
of their
agree.
source. We
I
throw out the
good idea.
source.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
it's just that's just rational.
Logic.
That's
It's
just
fucking
how it works.
logical, rational thinking. Yes. Couldn't agree more. But like his interview in Bowling for Columbine
Mhm.
was like, man,
Mhm.
there's a smart guy there, and I could not agree more with all of the things that he's saying right now.
Well,
And
it's
even
dude, it's
other things in interviews where I've heard him answer questions or speak about a topic, like I find myself kind of similarly agreeing, I suppose, or at least
well,
like
people
understanding that point of view very much.
people really like the idea of heroes and villains. And villains are just smart enough to not realize how dumb they are, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's the trope with villain.
for sure.
Almost never room for a villain that wins off of the efficacy of their intelligence. That doesn't get to last. They get some sort of karmic comeuppance or whatever. But in the real world, people can get over on you for a long time and
Hey,
be extremely intelligent.
Henry
And that
Kissinger lived to a ripe old age and was extremely intelligent and extremely evil, and the world became measurably less evil when he left it. But goddamn, if he didn't have this just bizarre hold on the
mhm,
fucking entire world around him.
mhm. Bibi Netanyahu's not a moron. He's a
No,
psychopath.
no, no, no.
These are
He
two different
absolutely
things. These are two
100% on
very different
this.
things.
Very. Man, intelligence and morality are systems that operate independently and
Yeah.
oversect or intersect, I should say, along their respective continuums.
And so with that in mind, right? You can't discount an intelligent idea or a considerate thought just because she keeps jumping up here because of its source. You have to
Absolutely.
critically engage it. You have to critically
Everything
engage it.
everything that you engage with in life, especially things that are morally concerning and foundational in that way, you should engage with critical thinking. You should engage with critical thinking in every endeavor, ideally in a perfect world, but especially in the things that you take as your moral stances and your foundational sort of thing, the parts of your identity. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go
So
without a fine tooth comb. Like,
so with all that in mind, if I can find a way to listen to mechanical animals without Marilyn Manson being enriched by it in any way, what's the fucking problem? What's the problem? I
fucking good
appreciate the
record.
album. Like
Mechanical Animals is a fucking underrated record. I've always said that is a
I
hidden.
think only now. I think for a long time, people that really like were into that genre, were into that time of music, recognized Mechanical Animals is, yeah, it's not like the first thing that mainstream Manson fans think of, but it is
No,
an
it's
incredible album.
stellar though. It is a stellar fucking record and insightful. And man, the songwriting is just incredible and so on point about so many things. But yeah,
Uh,
like again, the whole idea of separating the art from the artist applies as well. Like, but even more so when it's just like the origin of a logical idea or thought process.
I don't even think that you need to.
I'm
I
not gonna
think
turn down the Pythagorean theorem because Pythagoras was a fucking weird ass cult leading fucking Svengali. Also, when he wasn't being like a brilliant mathematician.
right, yeah. I mean, like I don't think you even have to separate the art from the artist oftentimes. I think it's important again in critical assessment, it's important to
Acknowledge
recognize
acknowledge the source and
acknowledge
all the
exactly
variables surrounding this thing.
separating these things gives you the permission to turn a blind eye to that artist when you're not supposed to. You have you
I
st-
was just gonna say it allows you to put on a blinder. Like, yeah,
Exactly. Like you can listen, you can replace their intent or interpretation of their own art with your own considerations. That's fine. That is fair. But you can't ignore the artist. You can't ignore an author. You can't you
100%.
they are that perspective is important for the
But
crafting of what you're looking at. It's part of the critical
absolutely, but
analysis.
like fundamentally, I love the notion that the that kind of that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That
Mm,
art is what the interpreter says it is, as much as it is what the artist says it is. And like kind of to that end, Maynard is a good example of that. Tool has never published the lyrics to their songs in any of their liner notes, and Maynard has said specifically because he doesn't want to necessarily always put his own filter on what the listener takes away from that. And if they hear something in a different way than what he's saying, but it's meaningful to them, like they put those songs together and hear this out of it, he doesn't want to ruin their interpretation by them being able to just go and look at the notes and oh, it says this.
mhm,
He
mhm,
wants them to keep their own personal perspective of those
mhm.
lyrics, the
And,
words.
and that's I think that's a result. It seems in my mind of him interpreting his role in the band as being another instrument,
Yeah,
not like the purposeful intellectual guidance of the band, but rather just another
exactly.
instrument in that band.
He doesn't see himself or his contribution as the integral soul force of the
Mm.
band. Like,
I think it's funny thinking about that. Like Numa is such a good song to consider from that perspective because on it, like, so what's a thing that's really popular on a sort of like musician uh, focused part of YouTube are these reactions to great
mhm.
drummers, great great
Vocal
guitarists,
coach
whatever.
reacts to Maynard singing
Yeah,
something
exactly,
live. Yeah.
exactly. So Danny Carey's performance on Numa is specifically one of those where, in my mind, if you watch his the like kind of isolated drumming of Numa and you compare it to the lyrics of Numa, they can work together, but just the drumming on its own is like as is so often the case, I think with Danny Carey, is so like ethereal and tribal and varied, and it guides the tempo of the song, but it can kind of tell its own story. And I get
Sure.
something that's a little bit less uh like introspective and collective than the lyrics provide by just listening to Danny Carey's isolated drum work on the song. That's not the message that comes to my mind.
I can see
uh
that.
and it's interesting in that way, like these bands, these like if I think about like a Deftones song, the range that Chino's going in is
Yeah.
matched by the range of the band, like they're telling the same story.
Yeah. It's like fucking classical music, like Tchaikovsky or something. Like in a way, you can piece together a narrative without the instruments or whatever, like, or without
Mm.
any sort of like visual or lyrical sort of interpretation. Like the music creates the narrative, I guess. Like once you have the concept, like just having the title or whatever, like you can build the story just from the ground up just by hearing this music with this idea that like this is the story that's being told. Like,
But then when you think about a Tool song, let's kind of circling back a little bit to the base idea here of you can't separate like you at some point have to critically assess, critically acknowledge that the author, the artist, is an intrinsic part of the art, that they don't get fully separated. The only thing that ends up mattering though is your own perspective on it, which can be not shared by the artist, right? Like it doesn't have to be the same
Flexible.
one they have. But like in a Tool song like Wings for Marie,
Mm.
like you can't separate Maynard from that song
No,
and
he's
his
intrinsically part of the song.
yeah, like
It's very
it's
introspective and yeah, extremely personal. So yeah.
so there are still even like even in a person that has like openly stated he wants to be interpreted as an instrument in this band, he's not what and just like you're saying, he doesn't want to interfere with people's interpretations of what he's saying. You still can't look away from it, where
Yeah,
he's
you
at in
can't
his life
deny
when he
that
writes
it's
that
there.
song. What's that?
Absolutely. I said, yeah, you cannot deny that that factor is there. It
Yeah.
absolutely inherently exists, and it's undeniable.
And
Um, but I
also
think he would still say that like the story being told along with the music being played,
mm,
like there's still just two parts of a whole. I think he would still say that like you could listen to that song with virtually him singing gibberish as a musical instrument,
mm,
and like man, you could still really get a certain joy out of the song. Like
mhm.
and
That's like what
you
the
could still get a feel, you could still read the vibe of the song and like even put together like ideas, you know?
I'm thinking of the I forget if it was like a Swedish or French or maybe an Italian band
Hell yeah. I know
that did
exactly what you're talking about. I could do baba doo baba little
the nonsense. I would have to put in a cut
so
of
fucking
that.
cool though. I love that song. I wish I could remember his name. Uh,
I'll
but
look it
yeah,
up.
it's
Let me look
wonderful.
it up. Let's do this really quick. Hold on.
I thought of something a minute ago. Another person who has a very similar process, kind of surprisingly to Maynard as far as songwriting goes. Uh, but uses like he takes the finished music and then inserts his own just vocalization, but he does it in a rhythmic way where he's just inserting nonsense, kind of create a flow with the music. And slowly he starts to replace the nonsense with actual words and builds the lyrical song structure that way.
Mhm,
David Byrne from Talking Heads.
mhm.
Like, and Maynard has a similar songwriting process in that he doesn't begin the lyrics; he fashions the song to the instrumentals, to the song itself. He lyrically fashions it to the song.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, and it I think it's almost explicit, uh, in the way that, like, Talking Heads works as well as just as explicit as Maynard just outright saying, "I'm an instrument in this band," in just, like, how meticulous Talking Heads were in crafting just about everything, even when they're obviously high as balls, like,
High as
obviously
balls,
fucked out of
but they're the right kind of high as balls that it doesn't interfere with their musicianship.
Mhm.
You can be high as balls and still fucking nail greatest fucking guitar line ever. And
Some would say it helps.
yeah, it depends what
Mick
your beat
Jagger certainly
is.
would.
Jimi Hendrix certainly
Jimi
fucking would.
Hendrix certainly fucking
That guy
would.
played literally the most iconic guitar lines in fucking history with enough acid running into his eyes and mouth to fucking kill a bull elephant. Like literally, the that his iconic fucking headband was just stuffed full of sheets of blotter acid. And when he sweat, it ran down into his eyes and his nose and his mouth, and it readily absorbs in your ocular surfaces
Yeah, yeah.
and takes into the nasal passages of the mouth as well, any mucous membrane. And also on top of the acid that he was already taking just orally before that. by the time like you're a little ways into a performance, it is sweet baby Jesus. Like
You're fucked. You are
he is
fucked.
living in a different plane of existence while playing the most insane guitar shit I've ever laid down. Like
Mhm.
it's just
He's
fuck
channeling the
off.
Norse gods into his
Yeah,
axe.
yeah,
Like
yeah, exactly. 100%. Like I believe that in my soul. It was viable of an explanation for what was happening as anything scientific you'll tell me.
I cannot pronounce this, but the person we were talking about was before was Adriano Calentano.
Yeah, that sounds
Uh,
all right.
I can share
Something similar
this
to
really quick just because it's
that.
fun.
It's so cool. I love it.
Let's
And like
see.
I know I heard him say in interviews or whatever that like it might be easy to take this in a mocking sort of way. He did not mean it in a mocking sort of way at all. In fact, he thought it was very much from a place of love.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't mockery of English. It was just like English. Yeah. It was just any sort of language's response to another language that they have no structural concept of, but it
Hmm.
still sounds cool. And you still want to like make sounds along with it while you're singing along to this. I'll sing along to something that I don't have any fucking linguistic connection to. And it's just sound. And honestly,
Yeah.
that's the way a lot of music that I do have a linguistic connection to hits me. It hits me in that more visceral way where like the lyrics are just part of it, and I'm kind of just vibing on those lyrics as much as actually
I,
internalizing the meaning specifically in the moment. Like
that's how it is with me in like Daka Braka, for example, or
oh yeah,
Rammstein.
great example, great fucking
Like
examples. Yeah,
like like these are like I don't speak German, I don't speak Ukrainian, like I can't speak these languages, but I
oh yeah,
understand.
oh yeah.
Like I'll look at translations of the lyrics to try to understand a little bit of where they're coming from more, but it's more about just like the vibe, man. It really is the vibe of it.
God
All
damn,
right,
I
let's
love that shit. 100 million%. That's the beauty. You don't need to just vibe it.
We don't stay in the shoes now and whole build the scene in a whole rate, maybe get the corner boss dying. Chance and might begin to cold, baby, stay yet, Bill Joe.
gibberish.
Ba, ba, ba. It's
Complete.
I love it.
I think what we
Ba, ba, da,
learned
ba.
at the end of the day is that art is subjective, but artists
Huh?
are people, and you should recognize if they're fucking horrible people, but you can also still find ways to ethically consume the art that they've made that you might appreciate, despite
So
how horrible the person could.
you're saying I can still enjoy the fuck out of a lot of Led Zeppelin songs and
Yeah.
take profound meaning from the words even of them at times, even
Yes.
though those words came from a dude that, in all likelihood, well, a number of dudes, probably all of, really liked having sex with way too young girls.
Listen, I'm a Tolkien mark, so I have to say yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Like
We all make our moral balances in life, so there you go.
as long listen, you again, ethically consume these. I'm not going to say which seas you should sail on, but they tend to be inhabited by pirates. That's all I'm saying.
What about the seas of cheese?
Well, those two, they're just delicious.
Dude, I'm gonna say, God,